Welcome to OTR, A Friendly Debate, a show where lawyers debate topics big and small while trying to remain friends.
We've seen some exciting matchups in our last episode, and I think we're ready for more.
Yeah, we'll just continue rolling with March Malice Aforethought, Barrister's Battle 2023, Part 2. We're working through our bracket here. We've drafted our teams, and now our lawyers are going head-to-head. So to get things started in this second half here, why don't we kick it off to the Commissioner, Derek?
Yeah, let's go to him.
See where things are shaking out.
Now, for the first of our semifinal matchups, we have Jackie Chiles coming hot off of an upset win against Ben Matlock versus Elle Woods. Tell us, why should the judges pick your attorney over your opponents?
Judges should pick Jackie Chiles simply because he has the experience to litigate any case that comes his way. He dealt with a difficult client. And when I say difficult client, he dealt with Kramer several cases. Kramer went above and beyond his head and settled in his own way for unlimited coffee. I have no doubt in my mind that Jackie would have settled for a lot more. He was looking for that plus. So when it comes to Jackie Chiles, I think he is able to secure the win because he has a name recognition. He's respected in the legal community for doing it for so long.
And Elle Woods?
Yeah, so one of the quotes in Elle's speech at the end of the first movie is, "It is with passion, courage of conviction, and strong sense of self that we take our next steps in the world." And she really takes these to heart. You know, she's very passionate about the people who are important to her. She's super courageous facing all the adversities she's done, and strong sense of self. She's not afraid, of her background. She uses her fashion knowledge, to her clients' benefits. And beyond that, she knows a lot about science too. She knows about ammonium thioglycolate. She knows about endorphins. So she has a strong knowledge base, and again, it's a very uncommon area of education, in the practice of law.
Do you have any arguments against your opponent?
I would just say that Elle's a little bit too inexperienced. I think if it doesn't come down to, her strengths of knowing about fashion or knowing about how your hair's done, sorry, Elle, very sorry. You might lose the case if it has to do with anything other than those things.
I can't say I'm too familiar with any character from Seinfeld, but I did hear recently that
that's outrageous. It's egregious.
It's
preposterous.
My opponent did have some relations with a witness. Is that correct?
Well, that was after the case was done. They were already found guilty.
Allegedly.
All right. Any other arguments?
I'll stand on the arguments.
Same.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll go to the judges and see how they respond. All right. That was an exciting semifinal matchup between Jackie Chiles and Elle Woods. Let's see what the fans have to say. All right.
They may be surprised as us that each of these contenders got this far in the series.
Indeed. I think, Elle Woods, Reese Witherspoon is America's sweetheart.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to compete with likability.
Really strong showing for her.
And we've already talked about how Jackie Chiles, that's sort of a weak point for him. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the legal acumen of the two?
I think Elle is a little bit less experienced, but I think she is probably better at actually winning, at getting results, given the context of what happens in Seinfeld.
Do you think Jackie Chiles has ever taken a case he didn't think he could win? He strikes you as the kind of person that only dives in when he has a certain amount of certainty where it seems like Elle Woods kind of just takes the cases that come upon her.
It always screws up for him, though. Something happens.
In Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde, we do see her as a successful attorney. So for that reason, I'm going to give this one to Elle and advance her to the finals.
I'd say Elle as well. Mm-hmm.
I might be the odd man out. I'm going to stick with Jackie, but I'll be in the minority here.
All right.
All right. We'll see Elle in the finals.
All right. Here we go. And now the second of our two semifinal matches. We have Vincent LaGuardia Gambini coming off of a victory against Harvey Birdman, and The Simpsons' Lionel Hutz coming off of a victory over Jack Kelly in the battle of who was the least incompetent.
It was Lionel Hutz. He won it.
Gentlemen, please tell me why the judges should pick your attorney over your opponents.
Well, obviously we only have one case to go on with my attorney, but it seems like if he continues in the same way and takes what he's learned to future cases, he would be able to win with a much higher success rate than Lionel Hutz, who seems to not know what he's doing most of the time in most Simpsons episodes that he's in.
Lionel Hutz has won several cases, whereas Vincent has just won that one case, I believe.
A murder case?
He got lucky. I mean, he was presented with the facts. He was actually given an innocent client. Ralph Macchio didn't kill a man.
Yeah.
He didn't do it. He's a Karate Kid.
But
He didn't kill anybody. It's easy to win a case when you don't have a guilty client. Now, Lionel Hutz, on the other hand, took on a case that was documented in Season 4, Episode 8. New Kid on the Block. Homer gets kicked out of McAllister's all-you-can-eat fish place. All right? He gets kicked out, and he's pissed off. He's like, I was still hungry. This is ridiculous. Lionel takes the case. Fraudulent advertisement. He called Homer the greatest hero in American history, which was completely on point. He wins the lawsuit after Hutz gets Marge on the stand to basically testify that Homer was still hungry and looking for other all-you-can-eat places. And when they couldn't find one, they ended up going fishing for more food.
is this really a life or death scenario like we're facing in My Cousin Vinny? We're facing two kids on trial for murder because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time?
Right. He was dealing with a case that made no sense. And he still won it.
Also, isn't Hutz a big Matlock fan as well? Sorry, isn't Hutz a big Matlock fan as well? Which I think just speaks to the absolute disgrace that Matlock was eliminated much earlier in this tournament.
I was going to bring that up. In Treehouse of Horror 4, Season 5, Episode 5, he represents Homer again in a callback basically to one of our episodes where Homer makes a deal with the devil. The devil being Flanders in that episode.
I'm sorry, you're saying The Simpsons referenced our podcast?
They absolutely did.
I'm loving this retcon.
Homer sells his soul for a donut. And he eats almost the whole thing and leaves a tiny piece and says, well, you can't claim my soul because I didn't eat the whole thing. He ends up eating it later on. Lionel becomes his attorney, and he strolls in with the confidence of an ignorant man, saying, it's okay. I saw an episode of Matlock at a bar last night. The sound wasn't on, but I got the gist of it. That is the kind of representation and confidence I need in an attorney.
All right. Moochie, do you have anything else to say?
I would ask Lando here, does your the person you're representing have the confidence to say to a judge in a courtroom, everything that man just said is bullshit?
I think that would be an argument he could make.
Could you say that on network TV?
He wouldn't have any other argument to make.
It might be directed against Lionel Hutz.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We will go to the judges and see who advances to the finals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We just saw an exciting matchup in the semifinals between Vincent LaGuardia Gambini and Lionel Hutz. Let's see the fan reaction. Interesting. Again, always something to see there. Pat, what did you think about that matchup?
So, I've been working my way through The Simpsons. Hutz is obviously top of mind. I think he definitely gets the lovable aspect of things. People in Springfield keep coming back to him. But I will say that there is a reason why I dressed up as my cousin Vinny for Halloween. And it wasn't just so I could have Shannon dress up as Marissa Tomei. She looked great, by the way. So I think that in my heart of hearts, though, Vincent Gambini speaks to me on a way that I wish I were as scrappy as him. And so that's where my attraction lies, and that's why I think I'm going to pick my cousin Vinny.
All right, I gotta disagree with you on that one. I think just Lionel Hutz' likability. Sure, he may not be the most effective lawyer, but I think he's charming. Phil Hartman's voice acting just really carries that to another level. I'm casting my vote for Lionel Hutz here. I guess you get to chime in with the tie-breaking vote here.
Yeah, I think both Lando and Mucci brought up some really good points for both of these characters, and I'm not familiar with either of them previously too much, but I think I identify a little more with Vinny. He's taken several attempts to pass the bar. He, is often in places he shouldn't be or isn't supposed to be, and I'm often in the same situation. So I'm voting for Vinny.
All right. My cousin Vinny, Vincent Gambini, advances to the finals. And then, Bombshell, we'll pass it back to you. All right, now the moment we've all been waiting for, the final matchup of the tournament. We've got Elle Woods coming hot off of a defeat of the upstart Jackie Chiles versus Vincent Gambini coming off of a close contest against The Simpsons' Lionel Hutz.
Oh, yeah, come on. This shouldn't even be a contest.
This is a heated match that we have here. I am so looking forward to these two. Let's see.
I think she's had multiple movies, right? But her most famous movie, she's not even an attorney for the entire movie.
But she does act as an attorney in a large part of, the climax of the film. And, she graduates top of her class at Harvard, and she does later become an attorney. But even, before she even went to law school, she incorporated legal jargon into her everyday life. She fully embraced the lawyer mindset.
Well, I guess we don't know how Vinny was before law school, but we know how he was in the high-stakes situation of representing two clients in a murder case who were clearly in the wrong spot, and the evidence was against them for the entire movie. He wouldn't have won without putting on the expert witness, his girlfriend, at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I think, you bring up a good point that his clients weren't supposed to be there, and he wasn't supposed to even be there either. Do the words Jerry Callow mean anything to you?
Yeah, but he, hey, he
Please
got away with
explain
it.
for those who haven't seen the movie.
Well, yes, I think what my opponent is saying is that he sort of lied about an attorney who would vouch for him to get pro hoc vice admission in another state. And if you see the movie, you probably know what that means. But if you don't, if you are an attorney and licensed in one state, you have to have an attorney of another state vouch for you, essentially, to represent clients and practice law in that state. Kind of a technicality. I mean, his cousin did want him there. His cousin did want him as his attorney. And just because of not really having the name recognition in Alabama, he would be, not able to represent his cousin and get him off on something he didn't do.
Not to mention a lack of familiarity with Alabama law.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna bring up, for Elle, in the first movie, she also similarly had to have a practicing attorney vouch for her. Mm-hmm. But in her case, she had a real one. Her main love interest, who she later marries in the second film. Spoilers, but
I would just say you can't argue with results. It worked on the judge.
You can argue with results
I don't know.
in the form of an appeal.
Do you have any comments about your attorney's likability or legal acumen?
Well, who doesn't like Vinny? He's got this great like New York kind of brashness to him, and he like kind of shakes things up in Alabama. These people that are just like very like slow, move about their lives, but he like shakes them up like, no, like you're lying about the 10 minutes. You didn't see this actually happen. You need glasses. Like, I'm done with this guy, he says. I got no more questions for this guy.
Who's got the better cross-examination?
I think
you brought it up. Vinny was crossing that guy about the 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
What about Elle?
Well, Elle cross-examines Chutney in the big trial. Chutney is the daughter of the husband that Elle's client allegedly had murdered. It turns out that through the cross-examination that Elle provides, finds out and reveals that Chutney was actually the murderer. So there's that skills. And in terms of likability, just to bring it back to that real quick, Elle has changed the minds of many of characters in the movie. Her ex-boyfriend Warner from undergrad started dating a new woman in law school, and they were initially enemies, but by the end of the film, they're best friends. And there are several other students who just have the wrong idea about her, being a blonde bimbo from California, and she changes her mind because she's so likable.
Well, the clients in my case, in my movie, try to hire someone else, and thinking, oh, this guy must know more than Vinny, he must be better. It turns out that guy doesn't know how to present a case at all. He might have the legal knowledge, but he doesn't have the skill that Vinny has in the courtroom to actually get his message across. The guy stutters through his whole opening, and Vinny can have a simple opening of just everything that man just said is bullshit. This other guy tries to cross a witness and stumbles through that, sits down all confident like he did a good job, and Vinny gets the job done. Maybe not the most professional way for the judge, but gets the job done.
Okay, so as far as cross-examinations, I do trials. I don't think I've ever had someone basically confess or be determined that they were actually the murderer in a cross-examination. I don't think Vinny did that, though, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
I've seen you play Phoenix Wright, and that did happen.
And I will say, too, Vinny can identify bullshit. And in the same vein, Elle is also able to identify bullshit in a very iconic scene where she's waiting in line for water at the water fountain. And an allegedly straight heterosexual pool boy turns to her as she's tapping her foot. Don't stomp your little last season Prada shoes at me, honey. And she, comes to the conclusion that he is not, in fact, heterosexual. So she helps in that regard for her team.
We don't have anything that problematic in Vinny.
Any closing arguments as we wrap up the tournament?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Sure. Yes, Vinny is brash and doesn't really play by the rules, but he gets told by the judge time and time again, you got to shape up, and he does, and he gets the job done, and his skills at being brash, at being a little bit outside of the box, are what win him the case. Bringing a witness that you wouldn't expect, this expert witness, or calling things out about witnesses that I think other attorneys wouldn't think of. Other attorneys wouldn't think of the grits thing, and he retained that knowledge from how long it takes to cook grits. So I think, he's got skills, and he just needed the confidence to really blossom into them, and the judge to sort of shape him up a little bit to blossom into his skills in the courtroom.
Yeah, and Elle, she not only wins trials, she wins the passage of legislation that she's advocating for. She wins the hearts of audiences and of characters alike. And similarly, she should win this as well.
All right. Well, it's going to be an exciting finish to the tournament. We'll have to see how the judges decide. And it's all come down to this.
It's come down to this.
The final two.
Those were some strong arguments we saw for both of those attorneys.
Love to see it.
Let's see what the fans thought about it.
Yeah,
well, I know a lot of them are going to be heartbroken tonight.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, both attorneys have come a long way. It's been a long, hard-fought tournament.
They beat Atticus Finch. Atticus Finch didn't even make the top 12.
BTFO. Atticus Finch. I mean, I think honestly he ought to retire at this point.
Much like Matlock.
All right, Pat, what did you think about the final?
Sorry, I'm just
It's a tough decision.
recovering from this wound. This knife Lando stabbed into me. But the final, yeah, it's a good matchup. I think if you had to subscribe to one style of law versus the other, I'm Gambini all the way. I think the panache with which he presents his arguments in the courtroom is exactly what I would want if I was on trial for murder and couldn't hire a good attorney. So yeah, in the boys' situation in that movie, I think I'd pick Gambini over Elle Woods. So that's where I stand. Gambini.
Right. Interesting. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. Elle Woods,
Quelle surprise.
played by Reese Witherspoon, of course, America's sweetheart. It's hard to beat her likability.
You mean Joe Pesci isn't America's
Joe
sweetheart?
Pesci. I mean, it's two sides of the same coin there, you know? With that being said, I'm going Elle Woods. Lando, that's you to the tiebreaker. It all comes down to this deciding vote.
It's a lot of pressure to leave it to me. I'm going to consider what the fans thought. Elle Woods did take on a murder case as a 7-Eleven law student. Well, I don't know if it was called 7-Eleven. I mean, she was a law student when she did this murder case.
Did she work at a 7-Eleven? I think some of our lay viewers may need a refresher on what that actually means.
Supreme Court.
Was she almost 8 feet tall? Was that?
So she was a law student during this murder case, and I think that's pretty impressive for her. And coming into this tournament, I didn't think she would get this far. I was really hoping for her. She was an underdog, I think.
No, definitely.
Of course. I think I'm going to have to go with Vincent, though. Vincent LaGuardia Gambini.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that's who I'm going with.
There you have it, folks. Vincent LaGuardia Gambini takes it. He is the champion of this year's March Malice Aforethought Barrister battle.